on him.
Hey guys, I got something I want to talk to you about, and I think it'll really help you with your fishing. Now, if you've watched me fish over the last month, you've saw me jerkbait fish a lot. And it was something I never did a lot of. In fact, I don't even know if I caught a fish on it up until the end of February this year. So I tried to do some research, bought a bunch of different stuff, tried a bunch of different things, and I never found that perfect video on YouTube to tell me what I need to do. Like, what do I need to start with? Thankfully, I had a buddy that really helped me and get me up to speed, but I'm going to put this video out there for you guys that want to get into jerkbait fishing yourself. So I'm going to give you a rundown of from everything from rod to reel to fishing line, to what jerk baits I like, what colors is a good start, when you want to use certain colors in my experience. And that's the one thing I want to tell you is I'm not going to repeat information of stuff that should work or is textbook. I'm just going to tell you what's worked for me. That could vary for everybody. It could vary for you. But I believe I can give you a good starting point that would really help speed up that learning curve to get you into catching fish. So let's get into it. First things first, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because it's going to be somewhat personal preference. On a rod, you're probably going to want somewhere between 6'6" and 7 foot medium action with a fast to extra fast tip. Depends if you're doing it off a kayak or off a bass boat. Bass boat, definitely on the shorter side would probably be better because you're going to be working that rod down most likely. And the shorter it is, the further you can bring that rod down without touching the water, more or less. Some guys will run it just kind of back down the side of the boat. If you do that, you can get away with a little bit longer rod. Me personally, on the kayak, I prefer a bait caster. A lot of guys like spinning rods. Either one's fine. Totally personal preference. Another thing you're going to want is a very lightweight rod. A heavy rod will wear you out jerkbait fishing all day. The rod that I'm currently using, and I absolutely love it, is a St. Croix Mojo Bass. It is a 6'8" extra fast. I want a lot of tip on my rod, so when I go to twitch or move that bait, I don't have to move it a lot. That rod tip doesn't load up a lot. I can twitch it. I can get those real sharp movements, and that is key with this bait. It's very key. Another thing that I learned is line is super, super critical. If you're that guy that just always throws mono on everything, I was kind of that guy. I dabbled with fluorocarbon and braid for certain things, but for the most part, I just threw monofilament. I'd heard it made a difference, but I'd never seen that difference with my own eyes. I'm going to tell you, with this jerkbait, it opened my eyes up. The first day that I fished it, I couldn't get very much depth out of my jerkbait at all. I was having to use a deep diver that was rated like 11 to 14 feet, and I was probably getting 8 or 9, and I was using 14-pound mono. What I recommend is 10-pound fluorocarbon or 12-pound. I prefer 12-pound because I like versatility in my setups. While this may be my jerkbait rod right now, a month from now I could be throwing a worm with this, or I could be throwing a square bill crankbait. You just don't know. I'm not the guy that has 30 rods and a rod for every application. I don't. So I chose the 12-pound, and that gives me a little bit more durability. 10 pounds great. If you were going to make something just for jerkbait fishing, 10 pounds probably your best choice. Some guys go extremely light, like 8-pound, even 6-pound on spinning tackle. That's totally up to you. You're just going to have to try it. But the difference between fluorocarbon and monofilament is just night and day. This jerkbait right here, regular Megabass Vision 110, on the mono, the 14-pound mono, I was probably getting 4 foot out of it, maybe. Now it's plumb out of sight when it comes down to the boat, back to the boat. Like, I'd say it's fishing 6-7 foot, like on a long cast. I mean, huge difference. Don't waste your time. Buy the fluorocarbon. It'll save you a lot of headaches. I've tried a few different kinds as far as what brands. There's a lot of good ones out there. Fluorocarbon's come a long, long ways over recent years. But the two that I can recommend with confidence is Seaguar Red Label and Seaguar Invisex. The red label's a little cheaper. I think it's 15 bucks, 200 yards. The VizX is a little more expensive, coming in $22, $21 for 200 yards. Bass Pro's actually got it on sale through April 1st for $16.99, I think. The red label, both of them are plenty strong, but I think the VizX is a little more manageable, a little less stiff. But both of them are great line. I've got them on different rods. It's about 50-50 split between red label and VizX. So go straight to fluorocarbon. You'll be very, very happy. Another thing, now, if you're super set in your ways, you don't want to spend much money on bait, I think the one that I've used that I like the best, as far as reasonably priced jerk baits, is that KVD 300, Strike King KVD 300. This is a very good color to start with. It's Cosmic Shad. But with that said, that you can catch fish on this. My first South Holston Lake video, I was using a Strike King. It was actually this one right here. It was the Deep Diver Cosmic Shad. It was I had a great day on Holston. Caught my personal best smallmouth. These will fish well. They're not as erratic as a Megabass. And knowing what I know now, I would give up all of these Strike Kings for a couple extra Megabass. They just fish so much better. They're worth the money. Now, Megabass is $25 a pop, but you get better detail, much better action. They truly suspend. They do not move up or down in the water column at all. So they are very, very good bait. Tons of color options. If you just, could only buy one, instead of buying 2 or 3 colors of this one, buy one Megabass. You'll be happier in the long run. Okay, guys, like I said, just go straight to that Megabass if that's the best advice I could give. So let's go over a few of these Megabass. Like I said, they're about $25 a pop, but they're the best. They're the Cadillac. They've got the best action. They require a lot less movement of the rod to get erratic action out of it. You can fish it slow. You can fish it aggressive, really rip it. It's what you see with some of these jerkbaits, the cheaper ones. If you really get aggressive and start working it, you'll see them, they'll want to spin all the way around, and you'll bring it back in, and the line will be hooked on the trebles. These, as soon as you lay off of them, they tip down in the water like this. And they just look, they freeze. They don't float up. They don't sink down. They just freeze, just like that. It's amazing. The action on them is so good. But they are $25 a pop. So, like I said, if you can only buy one to start with, rather than 2 or 3 of the Strike Kings, do it. And as far as what colors to buy, and which ones, I would recommend getting the Vision 110. Now that's the standard depth. I forget what it is, but with the fluorocarbon you can get 5 to 7 feet. Maybe better on a long cast. And as far as colors go, probably their best seller is Elegy Bone. This one on the bottom. It's got that holographic, side with some bone detail in there. It's got like that blue, purple, pink back and the chartreuse belly. Another great option, this one's a little more versatile, is the Table Rock SP. On the website and stuff, it looks like it's got a lot more chartreuse mixed in, but it really doesn't. It's just got a hint of chartreuse to the white. It doesn't have the same amount of flash to it. It's still got that purple, blue, pink, depending on how light hits it back, and it's got the orange belly. When this one excels is in overcast, cloudy, something where you don't have the sun to really reflect that and get that flash off baits like this. If you don't have that sun to work with, Table Rock's the way to go. If you do have the sun to work with, that's where something like this Elegy Bone, it gives you that chartreuse on it just for an extra little bit of flash. Because for the most part, these fish are going to be coming up to this bait, so they're going to see that chartreuse and then some of that side flashing and stuff. If you got a really, really clear lake and you don't want to be that aggressive and loud on the colors, this is GP Pro Blue. It's a very clear, translucent bait. You can see those ball bearings, kind of that blue, clearish blue. This looks very, very shad-like in the water. This is GP Pro Blue. This is really good for those calm, really high sun days. You still get that little bit of shimmer and flash on it, but it's going to be mainly a very translucent, little softer presentation with this. I don't have it in a Strike King, but those days where you've got that high sun, you need sunlight for this. But you've seen colors like this. This is clown, but you've seen these metallic, chrome or silver bodied jerkbaits in every brand. And that's because they flash so much. I mean, I've got basically no sun out here. It's about to get too dark to film, and it's still just flashing like crazy. But if you get that real high sun, the water clarity is on the verge of really not being able to fish jerkbait. Something like this is the go-to bait. Something that's going to throw off a lot of that flash. So that's a good choice for that. As far as when, where, and how to fish this bait, when, if you ask KVD all year long, I mean, he's probably the best jerkbait fisherman on planet Earth, and he'll catch them in the summertime. But for the most part with the jerkbait, you're targeting suspended fish. It's a very good up to 55 degree water temperature, 60 degree. When they start spawning, you're going to go to something else. But leading up to spawn, all through winter, fall, spring, jerkbait will play, especially in late winter, early spring, when you've got those mid 40s to mid 50s water temps like we've had the last month. Jerkbait is the way to go. Now, as far as how to fish it, you can fish it a bunch of different ways. Most importantly, it's where the fish are. I've had really good luck of casting it across a point, little secondary points or primary points off the main lake. It doesn't have to be a huge point, but maybe it just comes off of the bank, 30 feet. That's perfect. And real narrow. That's perfect, because those fish will get on the other side of that point and you're bringing it over top. I've caught several that way. That works. Most of the time, I'm in my kayak and I'm going down a bank and I'm casting in front of the kayak. I'm basically bringing it parallel to the bank. That works really good. Like the last couple weeks where we've had some fish starting to move in shallow, I'll kind of still work down the bank, but cast over into the bank, 20-degree angle, to where, those first 3 times I work the bait, it's in shallow water. It's getting down right close to the bottom, and then it'll come out and over and suspend. But there's a lot of different ways you can fish it. The most important thing is just finding where the fish are. If the fish are there, they will bite it. They can't stand it, especially if you're real aggressive with it. But cadence with this bait is very, very important. You could have 2 or 3 guys on the same boat, all throwing the same jerkbait, and one guy's getting hammered on it. The other 2 guys are very sporadic. It's all about cadence. And if you watch my videos very closely, you'll see me really mixing it up. If I'm not paying attention, you'll see me go, pop, 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 pause, and then pop, 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 pause, and then pop, pop, pause. I think in my experience, when the colder it is, the longer those pauses need to be. Sometimes the pause is 2 or 3 seconds. Sometimes it might need to be 20 seconds. That's what you need to figure out personally on any given day. Alternate that cadence. Alternate your pauses, shorter, faster, more aggressive, less aggressive, as far as how you're twitching it. Let the fish tell you what to like, or what they like. You've seen me do, what's really popular is pop, 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 pause. Pop, pop, pause. Pop, pause, pop. Just really alternating that through the whole retrieve. I caught a really good, that last fish on Watauga, I kind of went cold for a little bit. I went out of the pocket I was catching the fish to new water, and it didn't work out. But that last one, I was really aggressive, and I was just going pop, pause. Pop, pause, pop, pause. Just singles, 3 or 4 in a row. and that triggered that largemouth to bite. But the cadence part, you're really going to have to play with. But hopefully this helps you guys to get you started. I will link all the equipment down in the description to give you an idea of what you need. If you've got any questions, like always, drop them down in the comments and I'll get back to you.